As I sip on my hot cocoa, I'm sharing with you 2 focaccia sourdough breads as well as the best butternut squash chicken soup recipe. I'm also going to share why I began cooking from scratch. I'm Rebekah with Learning Together by Grace, Homemaking God's Way. Let's go. I started off this snowy winter day by putting a whole chicken in my Instant Pot. I often cook a frozen or slightly frozen chicken in my Instant Pot because it helps me save time. Sometimes I forget to take that chicken out of the freezer, and this works. As you guys saw in that previous clip, my children were enjoying the snow. They were making snow angels there. Now, I do make sure that before I use a frozen chicken, it is clean, y'all. Clean your meats. I'm just going to leave it there. Clean your meats. This particular way of cooking my chicken has become one of my go-to ways because, again, it saves time. And I also get a broth after I get done cooking it. And then I can use that broth to help me create either bone broth or to add that to some other dishes. Now, as my chicken is cooling, I am going to work on 2 sourdough focaccia breads that I started the night before. I took these out of the refrigerator and began seasoning them and oiling them. I'm going to make sure that I have the link to the recipes from my blog, Learning Together by Grace, for both of these focaccia bread recipes. So this first one that I'm doing is a pepper herbed focaccia bread. I'm going to tell you guys, herbs from my garden. Yes, I'm proud of myself. I took them from my garden and I dried them. I just let them dry by hanging them up for several days until they were nice and crispy. So there was basil, there was rosemary, there was thyme, there was sage, parsley, and I might be forgetting one, but yes, all of that was in that little mixture of herbs. So I was happy about that. Now I'm just doing my honey butter cinnamon focaccia. I used oil this particular day because I was running low on butter. But y'all, melt that butter, put the cinnamon inside of the butter, mix it up, and pour it on top of your focaccia bread. Your whole life will be changed. It was so delicious. So delicious. The oil, it still was good, but the butter, y'all, it takes it to a whole other level. Again, these recipes will be in the description below. Now, moving on to the other topic at hand. So as I am cleaning my kitchen, I am going to share with you why I began cooking from scratch. So in 2008, my mom, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She only lived for 3 years after her diagnosis of breast cancer. And during that time, I had my son in 2010, and I really started thinking about what I was feeding us. I started thinking about, what do I want my son to be fed? How do I want his life to be? What do I want my quality of life to be? And I can honestly say, going back to my mom, seeing her go through the cancer journey, it really changed how I viewed food, and my cooking methods forever changed. So I'm going to pause and just say right here, I'm just deboning this chicken, and I'm going to save half for later and use half today for my butternut squash chicken soup. But back to my cooking from scratch and the reason why I decided to begin this journey for my family. I was very heartbroken when my mom got sick, and even more heartbroken that she lost the battle to cancer. So I've been on a mission to do the best that I can for my family. Sometimes it's not easy making food from scratch. I have to be honest with you. Sometimes it's very tiring doing so. But I have made it a point to try the best that I can. Here I'm just showing you a clip of everything that is going to go inside of the soup, and I'm pulling out those focaccia breads because they are done. It takes 25 to 35 minutes for them to bake. Now, I am trying to be very conscious about nourishing my family, and sometimes I do need breaks, and we live life and we do enjoy eating out from time to time, and we enjoy not having to worry about what's for dinner tonight or what we're eating for breakfast or lunch or what have you, and just enjoying being in different places. We went to New York a few years back and I ate all of the foods, everything, and it was delicious. And there was nothing wrong with that. And sometimes we enjoy going to this yummy burger joint called Culver's, and they have the best burgers, y'all. So we do enjoy our life, but for the most part, I try to make our meals at home from scratch. Now, back to what I was saying concerning my mom, just watching her go through that journey of losing her health. And I remember her telling me and my sisters, like, if you don't have health, it's like you don't have anything. And which some of that is true, but I think it is a big truth, a big part of truth and reality of life. If you don't have health, then you've lost a lot. There's a lot that you cannot do. Hence the reason, again, I try to cook from scratch and nourish my family as best as I can. One of the things that I decided to do when I had children was to breastfeed them. My son was my first trial, and I did some breastfeeding as well as some bottle feeding because I was just new. I was nervous. This wasn't very accepted, I should say, back in 2010 when I had my son. But once I got pregnant with my daughter, I was determined to fully breastfeed her, and I was successful at doing that. Now, if I can be honest with you guys, in some Black communities, breastfeeding is a very strange thing. And I unfortunately got some comments that surprised me when breastfeeding my children. One in particular that stands out to me is that I was feeding my baby poor man's milk. I can tell you that hurt my heart because I felt like there was a lack of understanding that good nutrition could also be accessible through a mom's breast milk, that feeding them formula wasn't the only way. Breast milk was just as good, and sometimes maybe even more nutritious, depending on like the diet that you are feeding yourself. And it was sad because I did feel like, well, why don't we try to give our children the best that we can give them? And that's how I look at life when it comes to nourishing my family with food. Now, moving on. After my mom passed away in December of 2011, I hunkered down even more on nourishing foods. I began buying organic and non-GMO foods, and even though most of them were still processed, it was a start for me. So I was still buying like the cereals, the breakfast bars. I was buying all of those things, although they were organic. Yeah, it's processed food. And, the nourishment isn't, our nutrients aren't there as much as with whole foods. Although I can say this, even fresh whole foods can have its negative points because sometimes these foods are left on the shelves far longer than what they should be. And it's unfortunate in some communities that you don't have access to good quality food. But after I started that, the next thing I started learning about was growing my own food. I'm not perfect at it, but you guys, I'm doing what I can do, and I'm learning as I go, and I'm remembering some of the things that my mom taught me growing up with gardening, and I'm just trying to do the best that I can do. There's so many lovely gardening channels here on YouTube that you can learn from, and all you got to do is just try one. But so I did that, and then we started drinking and eating raw dairy products and outsourcing good quality meats. And I started looking into raising my own chicken for eggs. We're not there yet, but we will be there. And I'm hoping that we'll be there sooner than later, because eggs are expensive right now, you guys, and growing them, I mean, maybe there is definitely expenses with that, but there's just something special about harvesting your own food from either your animals or either from the plants that you choose to grow. Now, I'm just going to say that I am going to have the link to this butternut squash chicken soup recipe down below. That's also on my blog. Now, back to what I was saying. As I plate up this yummy soup, I went through this process, and this is what is continuing to fuel my desire to cook from scratch. There's so much more that I can learn, but I'm taking it one day at a time and learning as I go. I have a dream to someday have a working homestead that will nourish my family very well. But in the meantime, I'll continue to learn by God's grace and enjoy the process as I go along. Now, here is the final plate. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share if you have not already. Let people know what we're doing over here. Hit that notification bell. And you guys, leave me a comment down below letting me know what your favorite chicken soup is. You guys, take care and God bless. Bye.